Today, we delve into a series of murders that shook England over 100 years ago. In the 1880s,
his methods were exceptionally cruel, and his name spread terror among many residents. To this day,
this case is known worldwide as one of the top 10 most mysterious cases. He was Jack the Ripper.
The story unfolds in late 19th century England. London, one of the most prosperous cities in the world.
This led to a rapid decrease in available jobs, leaving many unemployed. The Whitechapel area of East London, gradually, it became a hub for a large immigrant population. The environment and security in Whitechapel were dire.
To maintain order, the London Police Department had to increase its forces here. Day and night, officers could be seen patrolling the streets. However, compared to the dense population, the police force was still too thin. The security situation seemed
To survive, some women were forced into prostitution. They had to go out every day to find clients, earning meager incomes.
August 6, 1888, a Tuesday. The series of murders that would shock the world began.
The first murder occurred at 4:45 a.m. in Whitechapel, at an apartment building on George Yard.
Help! Help! Somebody call for help!
In there, hurry, please hurry!
Whoa, easy. What's wrong?
Upon examination, the victim had 39 wounds, with stab wounds to the lower abdomen and uterus.
Police took statements from the apartment residents. A female resident said she heard screams in the early hours.
However, because domestic violence and screams were common at night in Whitechapel, she paid no attention.
2 other residents said they returned home at 2 a.m. and saw no one on the stairs. Another man said he came home at 3:30 a.m.
At that time, someone was lying on the floor, but it was too dark to see clearly. Thinking it was a drunken vagrant sleeping, he didn't care.
The victim was identified as Martha Tabram, 38 years old, a sex worker. Her residence was 19 George. A patrolling officer stated that around 2:30 a.m. that day, while patrolling near the crime scene, he saw a suspicious man wandering on the street.
Evening, Private. What brings you to Whitechapel at this hour?
Just waiting for an acquaintance, sir. We're leaving shortly.
After the murder, this soldier was suspected of involvement. 2 days later, at the local army barracks, all soldiers on leave on the day of the murder.
After identification, the officer believed 2 soldiers strongly resembled the man he had seen that night. However, both soldiers provided credible alibis.
After a period of investigation yielding no results, 25 days after the first murder, the second case occurred.
3:40 a.m., Saturday, August 31, 1888. The second murder.
A cabman was driving his carriage through the streets of East London. As he passed a stable on Buck, there's someone lying at the stable entrance. Seemingly dead, sir. What are you saying? Dead? It was still dark, and there were no street lights, so it was very dark all around. The two...
By 3:45 a.m., a patrolling police officer had arrived at the scene. When the flashlight...
There were 2 knife wounds on her neck, and her abdomen was ripped open, intestines spilling out. The scene was utterly horrific.
The victim was identified as Mary Ann Nichols, 43 years old, a sex worker. Her residence was a lodging house on Thrall Street.
Please, Mrs. Frew, just let me in for the night. I'll have the rent tomorrow.
I've heard that before. The answer is no, Mary Ann. Now be off with you.
Mary, let me take you home now. It's too late to be out here.
No, I'm staying here. Just leave me alone.
Mary then walked alone towards the stable.
Loincloths. A patrolling officer passed by the stable at 3:15 a.m. but noticed nothing unusual. 25 minutes later,
there were no other witnesses to this case, and no one heard any strange sounds.
Doctor? You expect us to believe you simply found her, Cross?
It's the truth, sir. I saw the other cab, but I only stopped because I heard a noise. I didn't lay a hand on her.
However, Charles was eventually cleared of suspicion. The identity of the perpetrator of this case remained a mystery.
within just 1 month, 2 consecutive murders occurred in Whitechapel. People began to link these 2 cases.
Both victims were sex workers, and the perpetrator's methods were quite similar. The difference was that the first victim was stabbed.
However, the police believe these 2 cases were merely coincidental, with no evidence linking them to the same perpetrator. Yet,
at 5:45 a.m., Saturday, September 8, 1888, the third murder.
Police arrived at the scene and began investigating. The victim's abdomen was ripped open, intestines pulled out and draped over her right shoulder.
The murder weapon was identified as a knife 15 to 20 centimeters long. 2 pills, a torn envelope.
The victim was identified as Annie Chapman, 47 years old, a sex worker. She suffered from severe lung disease.
I checked the lock, see, around 5 this morning. Had to, what with the previous break-in. They stole everything from my cellar.
After checking, he sat on the back patio steps to cut a piece of leather. At that time, no one else was in the backyard besides him.
I went to the backyard. It must have been around 5:15 a.m. I heard this sound, this chilling scream from a woman.
She saw victim Annie talking to a man by the road. He was about 40 years old, slightly taller than Annie, with dark hair. As she passed by them, the woman heard the man ask Annie, "Will you agree?" Annie replied, "Yes, sir."
Synthesizing the clues, police speculated the victim's time of death was between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m.
At the scene, police found a torn envelope. It had a London postmark dated August 28, 1888.
Based on the clue from the envelope, police tracked down a man named Edward Stanley. He was Annie's lover.
Whitechapel was a complex, chaotic place. No one clearly saw the perpetrator's face in these cases. This greatly hampered the police's investigation.
This time, the police released some details of the case to the public, hoping to receive clues.
Not long after, rumors spread that the murders were linked to a local man named John Pizzer, 38, a Polish-Jewish shoemaker. Some local tabloids published these rumors.
Hearing the news, police went to Pizzer's home to search and found 5 long knives. However, Pizzer provided an alibi for the time of the murders.
Pizer even sued the tabloid for defamation and was compensated for damages.
19 days after the murder, the local central news agency received a letter believed to be from the perpetrator. The letter was written in red ink.
My knife is truly too sharp and wonderful. As soon as I have a chance, I'll get right to work. Good luck.
More idle mockery, Constable. Another cruel prank from the gutter.
Unexpectedly, not long after, another murder, the 4th, occurred in Whitechapel.
At 1 a.m., Sunday, September 30, 1888, the 4th murder.
Police arrived at the scene and found 2 knife wounds on the victim's neck and some bruises on her chest. The cause of death was massive blood loss.
No, not tonight.
Another day, maybe.
Another witness stated that around 12:45 a.m. he saw Elizabeth being attacked by a man. This man had dark hair, was about 1.65 meters tall.
Because the method of this murder was slightly different from previous cases, the police did not initially link them together.
Some unidentified liquid was also on her. Her ear, left kidney, and most of her uterus had been cut off and were not found.
On the run, he met Catherine, then killed and disemboweled her. Therefore, these 2 cases could be by the same perpetrator.
The patrolling officer who discovered Catherine's body stated that around 1:30 a.m. when he patrolled this area, he saw no one.
On the wall near where the apron was found was a chalked message, seemingly implying that Jews were responsible.
Fearing that these words could incite hatred and riots if seen by the public, police spontaneously erased them.
2 murders in the same panic caused widespread panic among Whitechapel residents.
The committee organised local residents to patrol at night and monitor suspicious individuals. They also offered a reward of £50 for useful information.
To the police. Thank you for keeping my previous letter secret. It was hot. Jack. This letter was also written in red ink, and the handwriting was similar to the previous letter. This time,
However, police investigated and found that this letter was sent 24 hours after the 2 murders occurred. All the descriptions in the letter were...
Therefore, police believed these 2 letters were malicious pranks by the same journalist. However, this time, police publicly released the contents of the 2 letters. In fact, at that time, newspaper offices received hundreds of letters. Most of them were malicious hoaxes. These 2 letters could also be hoaxes, but the name Jack the Ripper mentioned in them was too distinct, so this name was later used to refer to the perpetrator.
The perpetrator did not identify himself as Jack the Ripper, and only enclosed a small wooden box. Visitors. This time, the police finally took the matter seriously. They found that the handwriting in the 3rd letter was clearly different. Police sent the half kidney from the box to the Royal London Hospital for examination. The doctor stated that this kidney was a human left kidney, preserved in spirits.
When victim Catherine's body was discovered, her left kidney was missing. Therefore, many believed that the half kidney belonged to Catherine. Therefore, there was also an opinion that it was an animal kidney, and the letter was just a malicious hoax. This issue remains debated to this day.
After Jack the Ripper emerged, police received hundreds of letters believed to be from him. Most were fakes.
While the police were still unsure what to do, another murder occurred.
10:45 a.m., Friday, November 9, 1888. The 5th murder.
The landlord's assistant arrived at Dorset Street in Whitechapel to collect rent from Mary Jane Kelly.
The assistant pulled back the curtain and removed the fabric from the window. He was horrified to see Kelly lying on the bed, blood profusely staining the floor.
Help! For God's sake, help! Officer, in there! It's the murders! She's lying in there all cut up!
Kelly's room was not large. Inside, there was a bed and 3 tables,
The method of the murder and the weapon were similar to previous cases, leading to the deduction that this was also caused by Jack the Ripper.
Around 2 a.m. that day, Kelly asked her for 6p and then left. Not long after, she saw a Jewish man and Kelly's friend felt the man seemed strange. As they passed by, the man deliberately pulled his cap down, as if not wanting to reveal his face.
Votably, after this case, Jack the Ripper vanished without a trace. No more murders with similar methods occurred in London.
Some argue that from the 2nd to the 5th case, 5 victims were disemboweled, while victim Martha in the 1st case was only...
Thus, the 5 victims in the 4 cases from the 2nd to the 5th are known as the classic 5 victims. Martha's case is excluded. This series of murders caused widespread panic in Britain. The name Jack the Ripper terrified people.
At that time, the Sherlock Holmes detective novels were very popular. Therefore, they invited Arthur Conan Doyle, the author. The investigative team noted several common characteristics among the victims. They were all sex workers. Most were married with children.
The first victim, Martha, also shared these characteristics. Therefore, some believe Martha could have been Jack the Ripper's first victim.
Excluding the first case, the other 4 victims, Mary, Annie, Elizabeth and Catherine, all had their throats cut from left to right.
However, based on the bloodstains at the scene, police speculated her throat was also cut from left to right.
The investigative team believed the perpetrator might have knowledge of anatomy, very likely working as a doctor or a butcher. Subsequently, police investigated almost all butchers and doctors in London, but found no suspicious individuals.
This serious matter reached Queen Victoria. The Queen believed that the Whitechapel area was near London docks, and every Thursday and Friday...
Therefore, the perpetrator could be a butcher working on a ship. This also explained why the murders all occurred on weekends.
Subsequently, police investigated the docking records of these ships, but found no vessel whose arrival dates perfectly matched the murder dates.
Almost everyone in the Whitechapel area was in vows and sustigated. The pool of over thousands... In 1892, after 4 years of large-scale...
Jack had a certain knowledge of human anatomy. He operated late at night. At that time, streets had no lights, and it was pitch black. Except for the first case, the remaining cases occurred on weekends. This suggests Jack may have had a stable job. He seemed to deeply hate sex workers.
Based on these characteristics, police identified several suspects. Suspect Montag John Druitt.
According to the investigation, Montag suffered from severe hereditary mental illness. His mother and grandmother both succumbed to mental illness. After his death, Jack the Ripper vanished without a trace. Therefore, one theory suggests that Montag was Jack the Ripper. Over 100 years have passed, and Jack the Ripper's identity remains a mystery. Was he Aaron Kosminski, the barber, or someone else?